"You won't like her, my lord," Edmund Lancaster said, somewhat embarrassed. "Her Highness, Princess Margaret, certainly possesses all the qualities of a noble maiden. She has received a proper education, is courteous, and is held in great respect at court. So what's the problem?" The king replied impatiently. "Is she not pretty?" "Alas, yes, your majesty." Lancaster's embarrassment became even more apparent. He had been pursuing the incomparable beauty, Blanca, only to report on a completely different bride who paled in comparison to her sister. Having lost his wife, Eleanor of Castile, King Edward I of England was initially reluctant to consider remarriage. He had loved his wife dearly. However, political reasons soon outweighed his grief. He had only one son, and the future of the monarchy could not be deemed secure. Thus, after the mourning period ended, Edward I began searching for a suitable bride. Princess Margaret was the daughter of King Philip III of France, known as Philip the Bold. Born at the end of the 13th century, she had been accustomed to playing a secondary role from a young age. The throne was destined for her brother, and the glory of beauty belonged to her sister, Blanca. Yet, this did not trouble Margaret in the slightest. She had a gentle and cheerful disposition and was quite content with her position. King Edward made his choice without seeing the bride. He had heard tales of the beauty and virtues of Princess Blanca, which is why he sought her hand. The English monarch offered peace in exchange for a marriage contract and the disputed province of Guyenne. The King of France accepted these terms. However, a miscommunication occurred. When Edward's envoy, Edmund Lancaster, arrived in Paris, he was informed with apologies that the wedding would not take place. Blanca had already been promised to another suitor and, should circumstances align favorably, might become the Empress of the Holy Roman Empire. Therefore, they proposed another princess, Margaret. Upon learning of this switch in brides, Edward was furious. Firstly, it was made abundantly clear to him that he was not the most desirable groom. Secondly, according to Lancaster, the second princess was significantly less attractive than the first contender. Why would he settle for a second-rate princess? And so, the English king unleashed war once more. It took nearly 5 years for the parties to reach an agreement. Ultimately, France and England signed a treaty to end hostilities. The guarantee of peace was to be a double alliance. Edward I with Princess Margaret, there was no other option. And the heir to the English throne, Prince Edward, with little Isabella, who was Margaret's niece. A modest royal wedding took place on the 8th of September that same year at Canterbury Cathedral. The 17-year-old French princess married Edward, who was 60 years old. The bride's dowry amounted to £15,000, and the king's financial situation was so dire that he did not even organize a coronation for his wife. For all the subsequent years, Margaret wore the crown of her predecessor, Eleanor, although she was never officially anointed. Margaret surprised everyone. She was gentle and patient with her husband, and kind and welcoming to his children from his first marriage. The ladies-in-waiting adored her for her down-to-earth nature, and when one of them, Elizabeth de Burgh, was about to marry the regent of Scotland, she gifted Margaret precious jewels. Soon, Edward had to travel north to address troublesome issues with the Scots. To his surprise, his wife wanted to accompany him. Margaret continued to travel with her husband, sharing the burdens of long journeys. To make the trips more enjoyable, she hired minstrels to entertain the king with their songs and learned to play chess, as Edward loved the game. The elderly king found happiness he never expected. Margaret bore him 3 more children, and she gradually gained such influence over him that many who sought protection or support preferred to approach her rather than the king. Even Prince Edward was saved from his father's wrath by Margaret. After 8 years of absolute family bliss, the English monarch passed away, and his son Edward II, from his marriage to Eleanor of Castile, ascended the throne. Queen Margaret categorically refused to remarry. "With my husband's death, all men have died for me," she would say. No one forced Margaret to leave London. She maintained excellent relationships with everyone, but she chose to retreat to Marlborough Castle. From there, she would come to the capital for important ceremonies. For instance, the widowed queen blessed the newborn son of the young king, the future Edward III. The princess, once considered second-rate, and the queen so beloved in England, lived a short life. She passed away at the age of 35. Her eldest son became the Earl of Norfolk, while her younger son became the Earl of Kent. Oh, and do you remember the beautiful Princess Blanca, the one over whom the war erupted? She died even before Margaret and, by the way, never became an empress. But that is quite another story. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, and thank you for your comments.